War Room Nation, welcome to episode 230 of the greatest podcast since Al Gore invented the internet. In this episode, we talk about everything going on in the world of sports, NBA as well as the NFL. This is a special episode. We talk with Michael Smith and Jamel Hill of ESPN and His and Hers podcast about all the relevant issues going on socially, as well as how they relate to what's going on in sports. Again, this is episode 230 of the War Room. Peace.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the War Room. We got Dev, Kill, Jimmy, PJ, B. Austin, the Hot Block Commander. Give it to you how you want it in a 1 or 2 hour show to keep the brain running with the premise to talk sports on a national level. Bold with the topics, sort of like some rebels. When it's game time, they like the Fab Five during prime time. Sports conglomerates speak their minds a little bit. For sports medicine and sports veterans and greats. The 4 for 26, so the war in Kuwait. It's the War Room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys, diversified and educated.
Yes, sir. What up, sports fans? You are once again live in the War Room, brought to you, of course, by War Room Sports on the WRS Podcast Network. I'm Devin McMillan. I'm here at the round table with Jimmy the Blueprint Williams and that dude B. Austin. We got a great show for you today, consisting of several hot sports topics, including a conversation with Jamel Hill and Michael Smith of ESPN's His and Hers podcast. So join us right now in the JW Philly Realty chat room at blogtalkradio.com/the War Room, or join us on Facebook or Twitter at War Room Sports. You can be a part of the conversations as well. You can also call us directly when we open up the Digital Extreme Tech hotline. That number is 323-410-0012. But before we get started, as usual, we got to give shout outs to all the other great shows on the War Room Sports Podcast Network. Listen to the network from our main site, that's warroomsports.com, or you can get there directly at WRSPN.com. You'll find shows such as our show, The War Room, Broad Street Line with Roy and Chris, After Further Review 2.0, a.k.a. The Sideline Pass with the Mayor, the Tissue and the Tape Hip Hop Show with Phil and Savad for all you hip hop heads out there, Sports Trap Radio with Brandon and Anthony, and a whole lot more. Just check us out, WRSPN.com, and just go through all the listings of all the shows. Listen to what you want to listen to. You can also check out the listings over at fatsradio.com. That's PHATZ radio.com. Check those listings for air times of all your favorite WRSPN sports shows, because all of the sports shows from our network syndicated over there on that network. It's been an extremely rough week, fellas. What's going on, man? How y'all coping with everything that's going on in the news that affects us? Directly, indirectly, however you want to put it, it affects us. What's going on?
No, it directly affects us.
Yeah, it definitely does, man. Another thing, RIP to Brian Burwell. Just found out he passed away, man. So,
yes, sir.
One of the good brothers. Yeah, definitely. But in terms of everything that's going on, man, like, it's just so much at one time. It's kind of overwhelming. And I find myself like laying off of the social media because, I just get so angry, like, at my people, other people. It's just, I just find myself angry. And a lot of times it's about, like, what's going on. But B. Austin made a point earlier when we were talking about, like, how he sees, like, a little hope. I don't know if I'm ready to say that yet, but I understand where he's coming from because people seem to be so pissed. I don't know if we've, reached that point, but we'll see what happens, man.
Yeah.
Yo, brother, I've been upset, angry at a lot of this ish for a long time, and I haven't seen people this agitated in this country in a very, very, very long time. But to counter that, we've also never lived in a time where there was so much stimuli going on in so many ways to control people's emotions. So I don't know if this will ever get to the tipping point where it needs to for change to come about. And change. What is change? Are we just going to get a patronizing, all police should take a black man awareness course and, that's it? Or will we see some real revolutionary change? Shout out to the brothers that play wide receiver for the St. Louis Rams. We'll talk about them a little later in this episode, man. But for them to take a stand, even though it was a little stand. It was just a little one. They risked something. They put something at risk. They were willing to sacrifice something.
You know what, though?
And
I don't want to jump ahead of what we got to do here, but I often think about that. Like even when and not to compare the two, but when LeBron and D Wade and them did their thing with Trayvon, and even with the Rams, I know the first thing that a lot of people say is, "Oh, that's not." I mean, everybody wants everybody to be Ali. Everybody can't be Ali. You know what I mean? There's one Ali, which is why he's revered the way he is. But I often wonder, like, 20, 50 years from now, how we will look back at what those Rams players did, or even with the Heat did, because from like reading John Carlos's book, a lot of the things that people said about what he did at the time was, "Oh, that's nothing," but it became so much bigger. So I wonder, like, how that will be looked at in the future. So, but I agree with you. I applaud them. We're going to get and talk about that a little bit later, more in detail. But Dev, it's definitely been a rough week, man. So
I just want you guys to know that. I just want you to know that under the current status quo, it's not racism unless a white person tells you it's racism. Just make sure you remember that.
All right, so like Jimmy said, man, we're going to talk about that a little more in depth with Jamel Hill and Michael Smith when they come on. So, keep it locked right here, WarRoomSports.com, and we'll get back to that. But for now, we're going to let everybody know what happened this week, what else happened this week while you guys were on the grind. And On the Grind is brought to you, as usual, by DirecTV. If you'd like a better TV experience than cable has to offer, including that NFL Sunday ticket, go to our website, WarRoomSports.com, click on the DirecTV logo, order yourself a better TV experience at a discounted War Room Sports sign-up rate. If you call yourself a sports fan, then you got to have DirecTV. All right, man, we got a story. I was going to say coming out of Dallas. It's not really coming out of Dallas, but it's about Dallas Cowboy running back DeMarco Murray, who's having a great season so far, but one of his former college teammates, one of his backfield mates, Brennan Clay, from the University of Oklahoma, he's initiating divorce proceedings with his wife Gina D'Agostini. I can't pronounce her name. And he's only been married to this woman for 4 months, and the reason he's initiating divorce proceedings is because he says his wife was having an affair with his ex-teammate, DeMarco Murray. He said he found more than 50 inappropriate messages between the two, as well as graphic pictures he believed they sent over an undetermined period of time. So I guess DeMarco was out there sending Richard pics to this dude's wife. What do you guys think about DeMarco Murray and his alleged affair with his ex-teammate's wife? Is that foul beyond comparison?
Hashtag creep life is real. My man DeMarco was out there creeping his teammate. We don't know what type of relationship this gentleman and DeMarco Murray had. It is at first glance and at face value, DeMarco Murray looks like a piece of dog excrement in this. But let's be clear here. This young man married a Myra, a scallywag who was a team hanger-oner, kind of like the Go Terps girl. Yo, shout out to all of our DMV listeners, from the late 90s, early 2000s, who know about the Maryland Terps football program and the Go Terps girl. It's like one of the football players ended up marrying the Go Terps girl. The Go Terps girl is a legend. Like, you can't be mad if you tried to turn a such and such into a housewife. So my thing is, dude should have known who he was marrying. Don't fall in love with the plastic surgery of the face and the plastic in her breasts. And you may have been asking for this. So let's not be so quick to slam DeMarco for creep life, because this chick could have just been. And from all intents purposes, what I'm hearing is she was out for it. And if you were a young African-American athlete of some stature, you could farm the yams. Those are not precious yams.
I got a little different perspective. Because when I first heard this, of course, I had all the jokes. I laughed. And, you know, the gushy makes men do all kinds of craziness and get in all kinds of trouble. We know that. Shout out to the brother on our page. I forgot who said it, but he called it the gushy. But the gushy makes you do all kinds of craziness. But, like, yo, doesn't dude have a daughter by this chick?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my thing
Yeah,
is...
he slipped up. He shot the club up.
All right, he shot the club up, right? But here was my biggest concern. I'm like, yo, I mean, chick's gonna do what chick's gonna do, man gonna do what a man gonna do. I mean, a lot of dudes out here and have some married yams and a lot of married men. Then, you know what I mean, but at the end of the day, like, y'all got a child, so for you to put her out there on social media the way you do, like, yo, you gotta refrain from that. I understand you real Tress Vanny and hurt at the time and all that, but yo, like, that's your daughter's mother. You can't take that back. Once that's out there, that's always gonna be out there, B. So, like, I'm like, yo, you's a noodle. Like, you know, DeMarco did what he did. I'm not saying he's right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like, dude, the sound, he came off very, like, soft, man. Like, how you gonna get so upset that you start putting your baby mom out there, man? I felt like dude was, like, crying, you know what I mean, sitting in his crib, like, you know. listen to sensitive, light-skinned type dude music and, you know, decided to shoot that tweet out. But once it's out there, it's always out there, you know. I'm not saying that DeMarco doesn't come off wrong, but, yo, he ain't say nothing as he shouldn't have. But at the end of the day, man, that
he hasn't said any. He hasn't responded.
No, he hasn't said anything. I mean,
this is nothing. No,
this is nothing that you respond to. Yeah, you can't respond.
Yeah. That's gangster.
Yeah, it definitely is. He like, yo, that's only one of them. He probably smashing one of them.
I got a couple other Jones from the team.
The thing with DeMarco, like B. Austin said, we don't really know DeMarco's relationship with this gentleman. They were teammates. They were both running backs, so I don't know if they were like those chummy running backs or if they were, you know, competing with each other. You know, they might not like each other.
Ball's a little younger. He's a little younger than DeMarco too. So when he was a freshman, DeMarco was a junior or a senior. A junior, I think.
So DeMarco basically took advantage of his young boy, basically.
Man, look, there's a lot of dudes who was freshmen when I was a junior. No, let me shut up. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't even know if I can give DeMarco a JoJo for this because it's nothing I don't condone.
No. Not condoning his action, but it ain't nothing. I mean, it is. Never mind, man.
All right,
let's not incriminate.
Let's move on to something else, man. Mickey Rourke. Everybody, you know him from his most famous movie of late was The Wrestler, but he's boxing again, and he won a match at 62 years old over in Russia. When I first saw this, I was kind of, I was impressed. He's 62 years old. He's in the ring out in Russia with gold gloves on, knocking dudes out. But then I researched the story a little bit further, and I found out that the dude that he fought, 29-year-old drifter, homeless drifter, named Elliot Seymour, who basically gets paid to do one job, and that's to stand there and get knocked out like he did by 62-year-old actor Mickey Rourke.
Did you see Did you see the film?
I didn't see the film, man. What did it look like? Like after you know that this is a dude who got paid to take a dive, can you tell from watching the video?
Yo, it's one of the most disgraceful things to the sport of boxing that I've ever seen. Like if they're not advertising this as a joke, and you're expected to take it serious as a sanctioned boxing match, everyone involved, everyone that looks at it needs to feel ashamed. Like, I feel ashamed. Like, it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. I put it like that. In terms of the sport of boxing, I haven't seen much worse than that. It was terrible. Even Mickey, put it like this, Mickey Rourke was embarrassed. He was embarrassed. You could tell he was embarrassed.
Here's my question, right? When you are like, you get paid to get knocked out, right? And your kids ask you what you do for a living. Like, what do you say?
Well, they say this dude is homeless and desperate for money. So I'm not sure if he has kids or a family, but
he's homeless.
But to answer your question, I'm sure there are people like that out there who have kids and a family I don't know what you say. I mean, maybe you just don't tell them. Maybe you tell your wife, but your kids just think you're a failure.
Trust me, since y'all have not seen it, I'm just going to tell you that this is definitely the most worst.
You should be ashamed of yourself, the way you carry yourself.
All right, so we're gonna give a JoJo award to that whole situation.
Speaking of
Everybody,
everyone, me too. I'm in that JoJo for watching.
Yeah, but here's my quick question I want to tell you, brothers, real quick. I had a weird moment this week because speaking of the JoJo Award, I actually want to give JoJo the JoJo Award because Dev put me down. Dev told me to go watch the Jodeci reunion Soul Train Awards. I think JoJo himself and his brothers deserve a JoJo Award, man. So we got to give Jodeci.
You should be ashamed of yourself, the way you carry yourself.
That quote unquote performance was deplorable.
Yo, the lip singing was terrible. Your man Devontae's hair, what is he doing?
Yo.
Yeah.
I know
where get what was going on.
Where we coming from the great city of brotherly love, we have some experience with people that have had some challenges with chemical dependency and self-medicating. When you look at Devontae's swing, he has the characteristics of someone who smokes krill but also shoots H at the same time. He's doing multiple drugs, heavy drug use.
Yeah, there's something going on with those dudes. But listen to this. Listen to this next story, man. Down in Tampa, the Tampa Bay Times did an investigation of all of the professional sports teams down there, and they found out that this Tampa homeless program is using unpaid destitute residents as a steady labor force. They have them working in concessions at all the stadiums and arenas down in Tampa. They named the Buccaneers, they named the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Lightning and Daytona 500. So basically, what they're saying is these teams are using quote unquote indentured servants at their stadiums and arenas for concessions. In 2014,
what Devin wanted to
servitude is still alive and well.
What Devin wanted to say is these plantations are using slavery still in 2014. Why are we surprised? And why? Go ahead.
No, I was about to say the funny thing is I visited Raymond James Stadium about a year ago, and I couldn't tell that the people were homeless and not getting paid or anything like that, but I could tell a distinct difference from all the other stadiums and arenas I've been to, especially about the wait that you had to go through, even if you were just getting like a drink or something like that. So I'm figuring, you get what you pay for. If the labor is free, the service might not be as great. It might take a little bit longer, and it definitely took longer at Raymond James Stadium than anywhere I'd ever been before. But go ahead, BL. What are you about to say? This is crazy.
Your soda smelled like Project Urine?
Yeah, I got indentured servants.
I blame DJ Willie G for this, just because he's in Tampa and he hasn't put his name on it. So DJ Willie G, if you're listening, man, this is all your fault, man. Y'all still got slavery in Tampa B. Y'all gotta cut this out.
Lord, we will get free. We will get free.
Boy singing old Negro.
We will get free.
They going to hell.
We will get free. Master said no. We said yes.
Yo, come on, man.
I listen. In light of everything that's going on over the course of the last few weeks and months, I don't think you guys really want me to speak on this topic. I think it's crazy, and I have a lot of ignorant stuff that the FCC will kick us off of Blog Talk for, even though we're not regulated by them. So,
well, the people at the organization, New Beginnings, that they're the one who they're the people who actually dole out work to these people.
They move the slaves around
the arenas. They they're not calling it indentured servitude. They're calling it work therapy. And they're saying that the money earned working in the concession stands go directly to their organization,
Them.
which provides shelter and food for the people working in these concessions. And
Yo,
they said
that's what they
the
did during
organization,
slavery.
the organization's
That's
New
slavery.
Beginnings brought in almost $1 million in income last year, approximately $932,816 in income last year from the quote unquote work therapy that they have spread around Tampa and all their professional sports arenas. So this is crazy because there's nothing but indentured servitude. So whatever they're earning,
Hold on. What
it's
you said the
going
name
straight
for it is, yo?
to the estate. New Beginnings.
Indentured servitude.
No, what
New
do they call it?
Beginnings.
They had a different
Work
name for it.
therapy.
Work therapy.
Work therapy.
I don't know what that is, so I'm going to say yes.
Work therapy. I need a work therapy. Like wash my car. No, work therapy. Yo, come on, man. Yo, I heard it all.
I need a work.
All right. So the last one, the last story while you guys were on the grind, Darnell Dockett from the Arizona Cardinals, he took a lot of heat this week on Instagram because of now, see, a lot of people that I spoke to actually got the story wrong because they think he posted the actual picture, but what he did was repost a photo of one of the president's daughters on Instagram, and the original poster said, the caption said wins her prom, and he reposted it and laughed at it as his caption, but he caught a lot of heat for basically reposting this and condoning this behavior. But I think a lot of people think he actually posted it himself. So he's looking at the president's 16-year-old daughter. And if you've seen the picture, you know exactly what we're talking about. I don't want to come off as a creep like Darnell Dockett, so I'm not going to address what the photo was about. But what do you guys think of Darnell Dockett and the perception out there from everybody on Instagram that he is indeed living the creep life? Was it terrible what he did for reposting and laughing because he didn't actually post this photo?
I've seen the picture. I think that Darnell is catching a little bit more flack than he should, but he should understand the surroundings and the world that we live in. And I'm just gonna say, as my brother, like, if you love me, yo, don't ask me about that picture because I don't want to be mixed up with the Darnell Dockets of the world.
That's the thing. I don't even want to describe the photo to the people who hadn't seen it because I would feel like a creep just describing what the point of the actual photo was.
All I'm going to say is this. Michelle Obama has some gifts that are innate to black women and the descendants of Africa. And the apple is not going to fall far from the tree because genes are genes. And
all right, listen, I'm not going,
you still sound like a creep.
I ain't trying to come off like no creep. All I'm saying is, yo, outside of that, yo, that's the president's daughter, B. Like, you got to be, and, yo, she's a minor, so I understand that he was just laughing at what someone else posted. But, like, you got to, we live in a world, we always talk about it. We live in this gotcha society. Everybody wants to say gotcha. So even though he's not the one that posted it, 90% of the people I talk to think he posted it. And every time you see one of these trolling headlines, it has his picture. You know what I mean? Like, so they're gonna paint it that way anyway. And you have to be smart enough to know that's how it is. But Darnell Dockett is straight like Idgaf, because if you look at his Instagram and his Twitter, like, yo, this is not the first time he's been under controversy. But fact of the matter is, this is the biggest one because you're talking about the president's daughter. Be like, yo, you can't. Like, it's the president's daughter. She's a minor. What's wrong with you, yo?
He's known to be the dude on social media that doesn't care what he posts, and he's not like the post apology type dude. He's not going to apologize for something afterwards. He's not going to take things down. So I'm wondering, what his thoughts are on the backlash that he's getting from this one, because like we keep repeating, he did not post the actual photo. He just repost. It's the equivalent of retweeting something on Twitter and laughing at it, but like Jimmy said, it's the president's daughter. She's 16 years old.
I think it's this, though. What if your squad win the chip?
That you probably shouldn't,
What if your squad win the chip now and you got to go to the White House?
Well, that ain't going to happen. But I get what you mean. Cardinals might not win another game.
This is true. They might not win another game. I'm just saying, like, the
And
possibility.
I'm not saying that because Carson Palmer got hurt. Y'all know how I feel about the Cardinals. But all right, so
one of our loyal listeners took another approach, and he actually blamed Barack and Michelle because he said, "Look, man, you got daughters. They passed through puberty. They're in their teenage years. You got to cover that up."
I mean, that's like the equivalent of like blaming someone who got raped for their outfit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
not rape. She didn't rape her, Jimmy.
No. What I'm saying
he's
is
just saying the analogy is along the same lines. Like,
you get what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if she just had on she had on jeans and a t-shirt. Like the person that you're talking about is talking nonsense because she didn't have on anything provocative. So
right,
it's just too much
really
going on. I mean, maybe the dude who originally posted it, maybe he's a minor. So maybe he's not a creep. So maybe Darnell Dockett should take all the heat for this. But I don't know that dude, and I don't know how old he is, so it's whatever. But these are the stories that happened this week, everybody. While y'all were on the grind. Before we get to Fred Purdue to talk a little college football and get his picks for the week and his thoughts on some stories, Jimmy, let everybody know who's having a birthday today.
You already know Screen Team is about to give our birthday shots out for the week. So the birthdays, if you're listening for the first time, are brought to you by Digital Extreme Technologies. Do you or your business need a custom website? Well, for dynamic, professional, and most of all, affordable custom website solutions, you need Digital Extreme Technologies. No need to break the bank for an effective online presence, top quality, results-driven websites at incredibly affordable prices. Financing options are available. Visit digitalextremetech.com or call 267-205-4203. And for a discount, remember, War Room Sports sent you. You can also find them at warroomsports.com. That's Digital Extreme Technologies. Thank you for your support of the War Room. Now, the first birthday is one Mr. Martell Webster turns 28. Next birthday,
His haircut. He need to act like he's 28 and get a different haircut.
Wow.
His haircut is weak.
Yeah, it definitely is. But
he got a sideshow Bob mohawk.
This next birthday, is Big Nasty, Corliss Williamson, Paul, turns 41. I laughed when I read his name because I remember Corliss is partial to blame for the dress code. I know AI takes all the heat, but Corliss used to come to the job with cut off Dickies, and he would be in the locker room wearing shower caps, just wear them around like he's out of pocket, man. So shout out to Corliss Williamson. I remember he played for the Sixers.
My best memory of him is getting beat up by Derek Coleman in a game when he played for the Kings.
Derek Coleman put fear in everybody's heart, though.
Mm-hmm.
Howard Isley turns 42. Shannon Briggs.
42
Boxer Shannon Briggs turns 43. Jeff
that's
Blake.
The dude who cried in the ring?
Yeah, he definitely did. Jeff Blake turns 44. Terry Glenn turns 45. Great quarterback. You know what I'm talking about. Frank Reich. Hey, look, man, you getting old. Frank Reich turns 53. Some weak birthdays, yo. Anyway, we like to give a nice big War Room salute to all
Whoa.
Frank Reich was responsible for one of the greatest comebacks in NFL history.
Ever.
Terry Glenn was called she by his coach. Terry Glenn was called she by his coach on national television.
Brothers, I know we don't like when others do this, but there's a very important birthday that has to be mentioned. Mr. Bernard King turns 58 today.
Oh, Bernard King, one of the most underrated athletes ever. Good catch, B. Also, did Casey Mack get it? Because Casey Mack, I know Casey Mack probably got birthdays from other.
Bernard King, Joe Thomas, and Ernie Davis. Ernie Davis, the Express.
All right. Casey Mack.
All right, so those are our birthday shout-outs. Before we get to Fred Purdue from collegefootballextra.com, I just want to tell you guys, especially if you're listening for the first time, you can check out our website, warroomsports.com. While you're there, be sure to sign up for the War Report. That's our weekly newsletter. Click on the Contact Us tab to send a message to us about our company, our show, to inquire about sponsorship and advertising opportunities and any other business you may have at War Room Sports. For general inquiries, email us info@warroomsports.com. While you're browsing the site, click on the memorabilia tab, buy some War Room Sports merchandise, click the blog tab to read our latest sports articles in the All's Fair and Sports and More blog, and click the respective icons and tabs to like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our iTunes podcast, watch our videos at warroomsportstv.com, listen to our network at WRSPN.com, and to download our free War Room Sports mobile app to get everything I just mentioned right there on the go. Join the JW Philly Realty chat room right now during the show at blogtalkradio.com/the war room. To enter the chat room, just sign up for a free profile on Blog Talk Radio. If you don't want to create an account, you can sign in through your Facebook and Twitter accounts. And while you're at it, click follow to get updates and reminders about the show. Excuse me. I will be taking questions and reading posts from Facebook, Twitter, and the chat room every week during the show. If you want to call in and speak to us directly, dial the Digital Extreme Tech hotlines at numbers 323-410-0012. Press 1 when prompted. But if you're already listening from your phone, just press 1. All right. So let's get into some hot topics. And one of our hot topics every week is, of course, our segment with Fred Perdue of collegefootballextra.com. And we got Fred on the line with us right now. Fred, what's going on, bro?
How y'all doing tonight, y'all?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good under the circumstances. It's been a pretty rough week. But we actually about to have Jamel Hill and Michael Smith on right after you to talk about some of this stuff going on in real life that's actually seeped its way into the world of sports.
Yeah.
So
Fred, what's up with slavery? What's up with slavery being legal in Florida though? Still, man.
Looks like you guys caught that Facebook post I reshared a couple days ago.
Yeah, that's crazy. Indentured servants down there in Tampa. That is craziness. All right, so let's get right into your picks before we talk about some other stuff going on in the world of college football. And the first game I want to get your pick on is Iowa State at number 3, TCU.
Give me TCU. Iowa State tends to scare people, but give me TCU. Stephon Boykin looks great.
Yo, is TCU a 34-point favorite in that?
The thing about that is, those huge spreads don't really come true.
That's crazy, though.
They gonna cover Fred or what? They gonna cover?
I don't think so. You tend to have those high spreads like that. Iowa State tends to kind of find a way to have a backdoor cover on that one. I would take Iowa State, but you can't push anything against TCU in that high-scoring offense.
All right, let's go Oklahoma State at Oklahoma.
Yeah, Trevor Knight was the quarterback. I'd say that would be a 34-point spread, but he's not. Oklahoma's going to run the ball pretty well. Give me Oklahoma. Oklahoma State they've been ravaged by injuries.
All right, and the last pick, Kansas State versus number 6 Baylor.
I have gone back and forth with this one, and I'm still just going back and forth. Give me Kansas State to find a way to slow down this high-powered offense. Baylor just can't be stopped offensively, but they can't stop anyone either. Give me Kansas State.
All right, so we had some head coaches being hired this week. You had McElwain being hired at Florida. Mike Riley has been hired at Nebraska. What do you think about these two hirings?
I like the McElwain hiring. I actually was kind of hoping. I did say on Twitter a couple of days ago I'd host a party when Al Golden, the head coach at Miami, gets fired. So Jim McElwain was actually at the top of my list. Unfortunately, he's gone elsewhere. Unfortunately, but McElwain, he was the offensive coordinator for Nick Saban when they first won their first national title against Texas. He went to a better. I won't say a better place. He went to a very good place that he could build. Colorado State's had a consistent, okay record of anywhere between 7-6, 8-4. That's pretty good for that division, that level of FBS Division 1A. The one thing I will say about him, he's going to bring a very tough, gritty offense, a Nick Saban style of offense, and they're going to be, again, the Florida physical team we remember from a long time ago instead of running this spread stuff. trying to be all finesse. He's going to bring a physical style, and he's going to be able to recruit too.
Okay.
And Mike Riley, Nebraska, they're gonna be a 9-3 team. Mike Riley, a former Alabama guy under actually Coach Bear Bryant, but he kept Oregon State relevant for a while, and he brought some successful years there. Nebraska, they'll never be the Nebraska from the 70s, the 60s, 70s, 80s. They'll never be that anymore, but they'll be a consistent 9-win team, just like Bo Pelini had them.
All right, so the Jameis Winston case, you know, he's had to. Well, we know he hasn't been charged in the legal system, but he's been basically testifying on his own behalf, in front of the school, because he could possibly get expelled for this. But we all know that he's going to the NFL after this season is up anyway. But what are your thoughts on, you know, the latest in the Jameis Winston case?
The guy just can't stay out of the limelight. And it's
Negative
not for
limelight.
the best reason. Yes, sir. It just, to me, I remember a quote he said, somebody do something to him if he had Johnny Manziel syndrome, I guess, and no one's done anything to him. He hasn't really been charged of anything, but it's just the more and more you see him in the negative light, it just looks bad on him. His teammates decided not to testify as well. He gave his statement. There's a lot of speculation. Unless you were actually there, it's gonna be very hard to prove anything. But from my perspective, I just kind of wish he would just learn to just go away for a while and just stay away from everything. Once this case is over, to really just kind of redo his image. Johnny Manziel kind of did that. Maybe that can help him a little bit. As far as this case is concerned, I think in the long run, it's going to probably turn out like a lot of the cases you see, where you think that justice will be served, but it probably won't, unfortunately. Unfortunately for the accuser, she's going to have to deal with that for the rest of her life as well.
Right. Okay. Last thing before we get you out of here, man. The biggest news of the week was the fact that TCU jumped over Florida State in the playoff rankings. What are your thoughts on that? Because, you know, there's a lot of people up in arms since Florida State is undefeated. They're the defending national champions. TCU's strength of schedule is actually 3 places below Florida State. So how does this happen? And what are your thoughts on TCU jumping Florida State?
Quite honestly, if I'm Florida State, I am just not all that thrilled, but at the end of the day, it's still a ranking. We are going to the playoffs regardless. They can't keep us out. As long as we handle business against Georgia Tech in the ACC championship game, we're going to be in because we're the only undefeated team and we're the defending national champion. And how can you keep that kind of a resume out? Regardless of the schedule, at the end of the day, we are undefeated. It's not like you're a Boise State back in the BCS days where you weren't a national champion, you weren't in a power conference. If the actual committee says if they're going off of their criteria, they've checked off all the boxes. If they win a conference title, they're in a power conference and they're undefeated, and all you really can say is our strength of schedule isn't all that great, but we can't really control what the other teams are like in our conference outside of our non-conference games. We can't really control that. We control what we can control, and that's winning games. And if I'm
Fred, this is Jimmy. I have a quick question for you. It's from our chat room, actually. Leroy McConnell, shout out to him. The quick question is, yes or no, do you think TCU was put in front of FSU to keep Baylor off the tails?
Not really, because at the end of the day, TCU still has to win, and Baylor has to win. And honestly, while TCU they did have their game earlier in the season, that game is somewhat irrelevant now because that was in the beginning of the year versus what have you done for me lately. So
Understood.
Not really. TCU has looked better than Baylor throughout the whole part of the season. As well, and just one note on Florida State. If I'm Florida State, I'm happy that I don't have to play an Alabama team if they happen to make it to into that Final Four, because if you give Nick Saban that much time to prepare for you and all the issues that you have, it could be really a bit of a nightmare versus playing an Oregon team although they do have a mobile quarterback in Mariota, that gives you a bit of an advantage because you have speed to match speed and talent to match talent.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
True.
everybody, you can catch Fred at collegefootballextra.com, and you can also catch him on Twitter at FPurdueSports. And you can also catch him with us on Field Vision talking NFL football. He does NFL football as well. That's at WarRoomSportsTV.com. But Fred, as usual, man, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it, bro.
Brother.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on. Hope y'all have a good evening.
All right, you too.
No
man.
doubt. Free UAB. Free UAB.
Fred Purdue,
No doubt.
everybody. Collegefootballextra.com.
We got the homies Mike and Jamel getting ready to come on 1 second. Before we bring them on, though, Tobias, I know Tobias got to say something real quick. Alabama fan, Roll Damn Tide. Tobias, what's up, homie?
Roll down time, baby. The Gus bus got the rail, baby. What's going on?
What's going on, Tobias?
Tobias. What's going on?
Hey, before I say this, you know, I had two of my 3 nephews' birthday was past last week, and I didn't get a chance to call. Then I realized buying stuff for kids cost that expensive. Who decided a Minecraft sword cost $25, and I had to buy all 3 of them one? That's why I don't have kids. But anyway, you know what?
You told us before. You said you use condoms. You told us that before.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, I told my sister, thank you for making me having me stock up on these Trojans on the way back. But anyway,
I'm about that sushi boy life. Anyway, my fault. Go ahead, good brother.
Yeah, I'll go ahead real quick. You know what? Plus, since I'm about to call it early for once, not on CP time, so I'll get this out the way real quick. The playoff itself, to me, I don't understand. I know TCU beat Minnesota, but where does head-to-head factor in at? So, I'm not a big Baylor guy, playing too undisciplined and commit too many penalties, but does head-to-head say anything? They will say that, well, TCU was up by 21, but they blew the 21-point lead. So I'm thinking, so beating that team on the field is not important anymore because they look better against Kansas State or somebody? Somebody help me out here.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
I don't know.
It kind of seems like everybody's pining for the, everybody had a problem with the BCS, and now we go to this system where there's humans sitting in the room, basically doing what they do, and a lot of people seem to have a problem with this as well. So I don't know how they fix this. Some people had some ideas. If you got any ideas, let us know. But I don't think you're ever going to please everyone.
No, you're not. And I'll say this real quick, and they got the guest coming on next. I don't know, you talked about this earlier, but funny that Michael Sam is all upset now, talking about he's not in the league now because he's gay. Talking about he's SEC Defensive Player of the Year. Newsflash, Mikey. He shared that award with C.J. Mosley, and C.J. Mosley may win Defensive Rookie of the Year this year. And you got a teammate last year, Coney Eagle, the second-round pick, is a better prospect. And you got a guy that going to line up Missouri this weekend. Maybe the number 1 pick overall, depending who picking is Shane Ray. And it's not about you as wherever side you live your life. I really don't care what you do in your personal life. It was about you being a marginal prospect who could not play outside linebacker or even play special teams. Tim Tebow loved Jesus to death, but he's not good enough to make the league. It's all about if you're good enough or not, you can still live a good life. And blaming your sexuality, it's not going to go play that card. It's not going to dare you to other teams who might want to give you a shot next year.
Yeah,
so
we
you're
talked about
basically
that
saying he played the gay card.
Pretty much.
Card.
Yeah, because let's be honest here. Everybody now I'm not a religious guy or anything, but everybody's bashing Tebow because of his beliefs. But when he got cut, whatever, on the Jets or whatever happened, he's not going out on TV talking about my Christianity or whatever, my beliefs. He just moved on, got on TV, SEC Network doing a pretty good job. But Mike, he wasn't even that highly rated of a prospect before he even came out. He was marginal then.
Yeah,
so
he did drop one. Hold up, though. To keep it a bean, though, he did drop once he came out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's the reason why, but I think part of it. I mean, you could say part of it is. I mean, because he's a huge distraction. If not for this distraction, he may be on someone's roster. Let's keep it a bean.
Because
Yeah.
what you're saying, Jimmy,
I'm
is
not
they
saying
may
it's-
be
I'm not saying
weighing
it's the only reason.
they may be weighing the distraction versus how good he is.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I can't. You know what though, Jimmy? To that point, I can't. If he's a practice squad level player, I can't take that amount of distraction for a guy
That's what I'm saying.
supposed to just
I
help
don't even
him
know
practice.
whether
That's
he's
what I'm
that
saying.
level player. I mean, because during the preseason, he made a couple plays. Now, granted, he's playing against like the eighth string people, but my point is, he's a huge distraction, and that's part of it. So I think that's what he was saying when he said he shouldn't have, because of that's what it's all about. That's all he ever, when it comes to him, that's all it's ever talked about. No one even talks
Yeah.
about his play.
Yeah, and I know you got other people, so I'm going to end it on this. I was wishing that Darnell Dockett would have been on the card. He's on the Cardinals now. I was wishing the Cardinals would have drafted A.J. McCarron so that he and Darnell Dockett be on the same team. Because Darnell Dockett loves tweeting A.J. McCarron's old lady. But yeah, and I want to see A.J. McCarron out bored against him, which wasn't going to happen. But hey, you guys have a good one, man.
All right,
All right,
you too,
homie.
man. Thanks for your call, Tobias.
Stay on time.
Take it easy.
Anytime. All right. So I think we
Yeah,
got our
man.
guests
We definitely got our
queued
guests
up
on.
and ready.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so for those who are just tuning in, our guests this evening are from the His and Hers podcast as well as the His and Hers show on ESPN2. We want to welcome to the War Room Michael Smith and Jamel Hill.
Line with us, we have Jamel Hill and Michael Smith of the His and Hers podcast on ESPN2. What's going on, guys?
What's good?
Yep. What's good with you guys?
Nothing much.
Man,
Glad to have you
everything
guys
is lovely.
back in the War Room just to talk about a few pressing issues in the world of sports. There's a lot going on, and a lot of it is off the field, off the court. B. Austin, you want to get into that to that Ferguson / St. Louis Rams thing a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the whole country is kind of turned on its side with what's going on in the media with Ferguson, with some of the things in New York. And, of course, it has injected itself into the world of sports and more specifically the NFL. The St. Louis Rams wide receivers core decided in a show of solidarity and support for not only Michael Brown and his family, but just the entire movement that we're seeing in the country, decided to come out during their announcements, walking onto the field with the hands up, don't shoot, going on. And I applauded it. I was loving it. What's your take on what they did in a time and place where we don't see athletes take a social stand very often? And then also, I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of the country's mixed response. And, the St. Louis Police Department kind of got involved. Guys, what's your take?
Jamel?
Yeah, I'll go first on this one. I think for me, much like you, I was encouraged and delighted by the fact that they chose this platform and this time to take a stand on obviously a very divisive issue. And that's the thing about it is like whenever athletes take stands, I think we pick and choose when we want them to use that platform. And I think how we feel about whether or not they use a platform for social issues is determined by whether or not we agree or disagree with their stance on that particular issue. And this wasn't one of those easy, not so complicated issues that they could lend their voice to. This was something that a lot of people have been debating and discussing. Obviously, anything along racial lines is going to be viewed and seen differently. And for them to do this, I thought it really showed, just kind of how much it struck them, as it would. I mean, they're black male athletes, clearly African Americans, particularly African American men, and their relationship with law enforcement. There's a lot of long-standing racial tension, a lot of long-standing racism, period. And so I was encouraged by what they did, very much so. And I thought the response to it from the St. Louis County Police was preposterous. And To me, if they're a community that's intent on healing, that was kind of some major evidence that maybe everybody isn't on that same page.
Yeah, guys, we just got finished doing the His and Hers TV show on E2, and we are about to do our His and Hers podcast when we're done. And this is very similar, if not exactly, what we're going to be addressing on this podcast. And one of the things, very few things piss me off at this point as I, reach my mid-30s. One of the things that gets on my nerves, Jamel and I worked real hard to get a TV show. And I can't stand people telling me how to run my TV show. And there's a lot of people, we get this response all the time on Twitter, stick to sports. That's what they say, stick to sports. We discuss Ferguson on the show, they say stick to sports. And the problem is, in America, we love our sports to be a distraction from reality. When people tune in on Sundays to the Red Zone channel and to watch their favorite teams, they don't want to hear about the realities of the world. They don't want to hear about what's going on, with Mike Brown. They don't want to, they want to just focus on their fantasy football team. They want to escape. But the problem is, man, and the reality is, we can't escape this. And that's why things are so slow to change, because as a nation, we got a very short attention span. It's like it's on CNN for a second, and it's on MSNBC for a second, and then it goes away. But it just feels like this is a sea change. Like Mike Brown, Eric Gardner, this is not going away. It feels like we're at a tipping point. It feels that way. And I think the reason why people got so upset with those Rams players, for the same reason that they got upset, I think it was a Monday Night Football game. It was a bad game, but there were protesters at the game on Monday Night Football that you could hear during the broadcast. Or even when the St. Louis Cardinals were in the playoffs, there were protesters protesting, outside the Cardinals games. It's an inconvenience. But too bad, because we don't get to take a break from being black. This is our everyday reality. And the thing I appreciated about those players, and Jamel talks about this all the time, it's easy to make a statement, and she just alluded to it. It's easy to make a statement when it's convenient, when everybody's, patting you on the back and saying, yeah, you're right, we all agree. These cats knew that what they were doing was not, universally accepted or universally supported. And yet they went out and they did something that they probably knew would invite some kind of criticism. Maybe not to the level of the police association, but they knew it probably would invite criticism, but they showed a lot of courage to do it. And that's what I liked about it, because they stepped out and said, you know what, we are black men, first and foremost. We might be St. Louis Rams, during the week or from 1 to 3 on Sundays, but we are black men, and we have sons who are growing up in this world. And we have to show support for something that's bigger than us. And so as a country and as a media, we can't, let our attention shift and just move on and say, all right, well, and that's the thing, that it was clear, the police associations, that arrogant, threatening letter they released, it was crystal clear that they were looking at it like, you know what? Read the grand jury testimony. He was exonerated. Like, we don't know the difference between exonerated and you didn't press charges. When he was exonerated, open and shut case. A lot of people want this to be an open and shut case. Like, when a process ran its course, they didn't indict. What more do you want? Justice. And to take a break from that and to feel like, oh, I just want to watch football, or I just want to watch His and Hers, or I just want to watch ESPN, I want to watch y'all talk sports, stick to sports. Damn that. Like, this is important, and this isn't going anywhere. So, I couldn't be prouder of the Rams players for what they did, and they had better not be forced to apologize.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned you mentioned it being a tipping point, because I thought about that as well, like, word to Malcolm Gladwell. But, I saw you posted that link from the restaurant in St. Louis, who said they're no longer showing Rams games, and all the vitriol things going into St. Louis. Some of that's like shocking. With how the police came out, as well as like some of the community, it's like shocking to me. What do you guys think about that?
It was stark. I mean, and what you're alluding to is the sports bar that said that they would no longer be showing Rams games. Good luck surviving as a sports bar not showing the local team, by the way. But that they would no longer be showing Rams games because of what those players did. And, they faced a lot of criticism from people in the league, outside of the league, who feel like it was inappropriate on some level for them to do that. But the way I look at it is sports throughout the history of it, it's always been a great place for those things to happen. Where would we be if not for John Carlos and Tommy Smith and other displays that we've seen without the graciousness of Jackie Robinson? A lot of times sports was far ahead of the rest of the country, and for that matter, the world, when it came to integration and dealing with racism. and dealing with tougher social issues, because the one thing sports had going for it is that this was the one arena where, regardless of what your skin color was, what your background was, what your finances were, at some point on the field, you got to prove yourself. At some point, talent is going to win out. And regardless of the stumbling blocks there may be, there's going to be that moment of truth. And in society, it's not always like sports. It's always the perfect haven for that to happen. Not to mention, it's where, regardless of what was happening on the outside world, African Americans could find some level of financial and social prominence. So I think that what we've seen, as Mike alluded to, is that we're all good with athletes talking and athletes speaking up and them lending their cause, lending their voice to a cause until they say something we don't disagree with, which is why a couple years ago when Tim Tebow had that Super Bowl ad, that was a pro-life ad, a controversial ad to do. That's why I applauded him for it. I may not necessarily agree with those same politics, but the point is that that's something that's going to divide people. And he felt so strong about how he felt about that issue that he put himself in a commercial with his mother, knowing very well the kind of brushback he may get back, and some people that may not want to deal with him because of that. And that's kind of the spirit of what we've seen of some of our greatest athletes, people who are willing to sacrifice perhaps money out of their own pocket, maybe a little bit of social standing to stand up for something they believe in.
Right. Now, that's the same thing we get from people, what Michael just said. People always want to tell us when we're engaging with our followers on social media, they want to tell us, stick to sports and this and that. But, people don't realize that, we're human beings. Like Mike said, we're definitely black men. A lot of this stuff affects us too. And just because we do sports for a living, it doesn't mean that this stuff doesn't affect us, doesn't mean that we don't want to talk about it. And whatever platform we have to talk about it, that's where, where the conversation is going to take place. But people really don't like things interfering with their sports. It's crazy.
Well, it's funny because I I looked at all of this, and Michael, you brought up the point of it being a tipping point, and it feels that way to me as well. I think initially when the verdict was announced or read, I felt deep sadness. I felt hurt because I have two children. I got two children, and I'm thinking about the world they're growing up in, and I know you have kids as well. But now, as I look at kind of the movement that's behind this, I'm kind of getting excited. Like, I'm kind of happy that things are where they are, and I'm thinking that people such as yourselves and those athletes, those Rams players that took that stand, and let's be clear, taking a stand is when you put something on the line, when you're risking something. And I appreciated the fact that they are risking something. It's not about wearing a hoodie and throwing it up on social media. It's not about doing clever things that people will applaud for a second and it'll go away. They took a stand because there's a risk to them. So I feel as though we are at a tipping point, and where else, let's face it, even in 2014, what other medium or platform outside of sports and entertainment do black people have? Like, where else would they expect for this to come from outside of venues that have traditionally been ours, quote unquote? So, the expectation that this would just go quietly off into the night, I think is ludicrous, and we know that there are some divisive forces out there that even put pressure on you guys as members of the media to not mix social issues and sports. But man, that's the world we live in.
Well, but on the flip side, we have a responsibility and an obligation to do it, and we understand that. It's like we both know what we signed up for, and you're going to have people. I mean, like I talked about the negative, but I mean, the response that we get and the support that we get when we do address these issues, either on social media or on ESPN2, is way more than the people who say stick to sports, nobody cares what you think, this, that, and the other. And even the ones that say stick to sports or decide to call us racist or argue with us, the good news is they're still watching. And there's certain minds you're just not going to change. But we understand that, it would be more of a problem if we didn't address it than dealing with the backlash for addressing it. Like, we have to do it. Like, we have these platforms for a reason, and it's not just to talk about trivial things. And neither one of us is acting like we are, single-handedly or joining forces to change the world every day from noon to 1 on ESPN2. By all means, no. But if enough voices continue to drive the conversation and continue to keep these things at the forefront, maybe there could be change. I'm also hopeful, too, in terms of the future, because we're living in a different time. I mean, social media has its, downside, but the upside is also far greater because you don't have to rely on the mainstream media that's more often than not controlled, if not all the time, controlled by the majority. Like we can be our own media. Like the amount of, the national moment of silence, everything that was coordinated through social media, it has been coordinated through social media, and the information that's being shared in real time has been amazing. Like people around the country were able to watch not just the CNN and MSNBC and whatnot feeds of the protests in Ferguson in the immediate aftermath back in the summer. We were able to watch it on social media all night. It's often better feeds and get the real information from the ground. So technology has given a different kind of life, to the current situation than maybe our parents and grandparents had in terms of just being able to communicate, being able to share information, being able to join forces, being able to keep the conversation going. I mean, my goodness, hashtags help change things nowadays, or at least help bring awareness to things, I should say. So it's I got kids too, man. I got sons and daughters. I don't know to tell my son or how to explain it to him, but hopefully, a different explanation will be required the more, things hopefully change for the better. There's reason for optimism, but look, going back to social media, when you see a brother get choked out and it's on video and you hear him saying, I can't breathe, and he's not indicted, and an officer's not indicted at least. Like Jamal and I were talking about this the other night. Back in the day, we get upset over an acquittal. Now it's like, can we at least get to the trial? Like, can we at least get that far? So you can have video, and we talk about body cameras, you can have video, and it's still not received justice. So it's not the end-all, be-all, but at least it allows people not to be at the mercy of just the mainstream media to deliver a message.
All right. Well, before we switch gears, I wasn't even going to ask you guys about this, but everybody and their mother is writing Charles Barkley an open letter, Etan Thomas, even Kenny Smith, who sits right next to him every other night. Brief. We'll talk about this briefly. What are your guys' reaction to what he had to say about the whole thing?
I wasn't really focused necessarily on. I mean, I was focused on what he had to say. Obviously, I read it, and I thought it was interesting. I guess what I'm very curious about more so is, will they address it on TNT? Because I would have thought in some ways that would have been a better forum. It just seemed kind of odd to write a letter to somebody that's your coworker. Like, could y'all not have talked about it maybe face to face? Or and I got the line when he said sometimes things get like lost in conversation. And nor am I saying that Kenny Smith was somehow inappropriate by addressing it this way. I thought he had some interesting points in there. And did I agree with what Charles Barkley had to say? No, I did not agree with what he had to say. That's his perspective, and he's allowed his right to his opinion. He's also allowed the right to be wrong. And Charles is my boy, and I tell him that to his face. So I just wondered, I just thought I was more concentrated on the oddness of the response, if anything.
Right. Well, for me, I'm thinking Kenny probably did it this way. And it's going to sound like a diss, but it's not really a diss because I like both of those guys. But they aren't the most articulate brothers in the world, so maybe he figured the conversation on television might not go the way that they wanted to. That's just my thought.
Well, you know how I read the letter. Like, okay, going back to what I said earlier, basically Kenny told Charles, stick to sports. That's what he was telling him.
Exactly.
He was like, stay in your lane, boss. That's basically what he told him.
He tried to use the Obama and the Al Sharpton. He tried to use that analogy to basically tell him that, stick to sports.
Yeah, I think that's the new wave now. So now when I disagree with B. Austin, I'm just going to write him an open letter as opposed to talking about it on the show.
Right.
Y'all going to have a lot of letters.
People are surprised. I think people are surprised at the position Charles took with this, being that he's from Alabama, the time he grew up in, the things that he faced in his life. But what I've shared in the conversations I've had about that letter, was merely, don't think that because a black man comes through a storm that he doesn't adopt some of the feelings and beliefs of those that thumped him on the head and may have oppressed him. I mean, don't think Stockholm syndrome, man. That's all.
Everybody's entitled to an opinion. I mean, he had his. A lot of us don't agree with it, but whatever. But let's switch gears a little bit, and talk a little bit about the Ray Rice, or now the Janae Rice situation. Now, it's good that we have you on, Jamel, because you're actually one of the mediums that she opened up to. You did a nice little sit-down interview with her. The first thing I want to know, what was Janae Rice trying to accomplish, by having this sit down with you? Like, what was the point? What was she trying to tell us? Was it just that I'm letting you know that I'm behind, Ray 100%? Or was there something about that night that we were supposed to, like a light bulb was supposed to go off in our head and change some of our feelings? Because we actually had some people say that to us, like posting it, your interview on our page saying, see, this proves something, but we really didn't get what that person was trying to say. So what was the point of the whole thing?
Well, I think for her, and much like with any celebrity or anybody of note that winds up on the wrong side of the headlines, there's going to come a point where you're just going to have to face the questions, face the media, face the public, so to speak. And they have arrived at that point. At the time of the interview, it was, I think, the first day that there was testimony in the Ray Rice appeals case. So clearly they were speeding towards some kind of conclusion, whether it be him having been reinstated like he was, or it could have gone the other way and maybe he wasn't, and the indefinite suspension held up. Either way, at some point they were going to have to talk. And so I think because the legal conclusion was nearing an end, that was part of the incentive. I think what you just said was another part of it, wanting to express support for her husband, also wanting to maybe clear up some things that happened that night. And I think it's up to probably the reader or viewer, depending on whether you read my interview with her or whether you watched the Matt Lauer interview. I mean, you're going to walk away, whatever your opinion was. I'm not sure. Maybe she might have given people more insight into who she was in particular, but I'm not sure if your opinion was one way or the other, if it was really moved that much. And so, and I told her that, when the process started, is like, this may be one of those things where, yeah, you get to certainly tell your side of things, but don't go into it with the false notion that you telling your side is going to get everybody on board.
Right, because I've had conversations where some, like Ray Rice defenders were basically trying to tell me that her point in this whole thing was to prove to us that, she played a role in making him do what he did that night. And, even through what from what you got out of her, I still don't see that, because the only thing I saw from her was, okay, he spit on me and I tried to slap him, which to me is like human nature, because I think spitting on somebody is actually the worst thing you could possibly do. Like, I'd rather you punch me in my face than spit on me, but that's just me. It might just be me. So I was just trying to get that from you, Jamal. I didn't really understand what she was trying to get across.
Well, I think how we feel about this is tied deeply to our personal beliefs. I've always been of the opinion that there's certain groups that if there are anything done to those particular groups, it just resonates emotionally much different in all of us. It's women, children, and animals. All right, if you have been are a victim in any of those three categories, I think it definitely resonates differently with the public. I don't think that if you went into this thinking that she wasn't at fault, I don't find that her explanation is going to move you any differently. And I don't know if some people call it rationalizing or justifying or making excuses for whatever category you want to put that in. This was just simply, her explanation. Like probably a lot of people, no, I don't find her at fault at all. And I did understand on some small level what she was apologizing for when I asked her whether or not why she felt like she should have apologized to Ray Rice at all, because privately she did. And her explanation was simply that she didn't feel, she felt like the situation, how she handled herself was so out of character and how carries herself, that she felt like that was something that was worth an apology for.
I can see that, and I can respect her. I guess being a genteel woman, and trying to, I guess, as a good book reads, a kind word in the face of rage turns that rage away. But some of the conversations we've had are very disheartening in our own communities, where people are justifying the fact that he whooped her ass. Like, there's just no way around it. Like, this is the mother of his children and his wife, and he whooped her ass. Like, man, it's great piece, great interview. But like you say, that's not going to change the fact. That's not going to change that film that we've seen. And it's probably not going to change many opinions. We're just a little bit more informed. Michael, what was your take on all of this?
Well, I wasn't, the least bit surprised that Janae felt comfortable with my colleague to be able to open up and share what she did. So, I was happy that it turned out well, and I respect Jamel enough to accept her representation on a lot of things. And she kept me in the loop, when the process was going on, and told me what she thought about her, and told me how impressive she was, and that certainly came through in the interview. I think it was more of a display of strength and weakness. I think a lot of people throughout this entire process, at various times, have tried to psychoanalyze her from afar, and tried to, lump her in with, with other domestic violence victims, and assume that she's, simply excusing her abuser or doing what victims typically do. You mentioned the Stockholm Syndrome. And I think we have to step back, and instead of projecting our thoughts, feelings, experiences onto her life, simply realize that, look, she's the only one that has to walk in her shoes. She's the only person that has to deal with the situation. And how she chooses to do it, she doesn't need our collective judgment as much as she needs our collective support. We can think what we want about Ray Rice. Ultimately, his ultimate judge is God, his wife, his daughter, their family. And I thought the most powerful image was, both in terms of a still photograph and on a Today Show, was seeing her mother next to her talk about how she was raised. A lot of people could look at that and say that's bull, or they're full of it, or that's fine. Go ahead and judge. But ultimately, like, this is her husband. This is the man that she loves, that she's married to. And if she decides to forgive him, move on, maintain their marriage for whatever reason, I loved it that they've said, hey, I don't need him for the money. That's great. So if you're in love with him, or you're in love with you want to continue your family, you want to stay together for their daughter, whatever the reason is, I think we got to respect it. We don't have to agree with it, but I think we have to respect it, as opposed to trying to, extrapolate and say, well, that just proves, on one extreme that she was at fault, which, as you said, is complete and utter bullshit, or on the other extreme, that she's a typical victim and she doesn't know any better. Like, that's her decision. Respect it. If she chooses to move on, the least we could do is at least be neutral on it. You don't have to, applaud it, but respect it. She's a grown woman. This is their marriage. We don't have to sleep with Ray Rice. We don't have to look that daughter in the face. That's on them. So it did a lot for me to hear from her. I think she's the most important voice in this entire situation. I don't care what Roger Goodell thinks at this point. I don't even need to hear from Ray Rice. There's not a whole lot Ray Rice can say. There's nothing he can say to make me change my mind about what he did. There's not a whole lot that he needs to say to make me change my mind about who he is as a person. I don't care. What I care most about is how does Janae think, what does Janae think of Ray Rice moving forward? And if she's comfortable, I'll support her.
Cool. All right. So, and also, just, before we move on to our final topic, the Ravens, of course, have released a statement saying that what she told Jamel and what she told Matt Lauer about the team basically giving her a script of what to say in a press conference, they're disputing what she actually told you guys. They put out a statement basically saying after Ray informed the Ravens that Janae wanted also to speak at the event, I asked Ray on 2 different days if Ray wanted me to speak with Janae in advance of the press session. Both times Ray declined and said she's good. She knows what she wants to say. At no time prior to the May 23rd session did we provide talking points, a script, or suggested script to Janae or speak with her about the press event. We did not recommend or suggest to Ray or Janae that she apologize in any way. That's from Senior Vice President of Public Relations, Kevin Byrne. So he's basically saying, she told you, Jamel, that the Ravens asked her to apologize for her role in that first press conference, and they're disputing that claim. So, we got some more drama in this whole situation.
Can I just jump in and say one thing real quick?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who or what to believe at this point, but I think if you're going to measure credibility, Janae's probably got more than the Ravens at this point, no?
Yeah.
Well, and not to mention, they certainly weren't shy about tweeting out that she apologized, because if they really were, that tweet was so tone deaf. That's why they just lost all credibility with me. I mean, you're live tweeting that kind of press conference, number one, and then you're gonna make sure you live tweet that she apologized for her role in this. So, I mean, I guess it is what it is. They have differing interpretations of who was told what and when, but certainly, I think the Ravens can at least admit that from the time this happened, their entire mission was to try to repair and rehabilitate Ray Rice's image as quickly as possible so he can get back on the football field.
Okay, so last thing, because we don't want to keep you guys all day. We know you you got things to do. Let's talk a little bit about the Adrian Peterson situation. We're going to stay in the NFL with more NFL off the field stuff. As we know, Adrian Peterson's appeal hearings have been going on this week. Jamel, what are your thoughts on these hearings? Like, do you think he should be reinstated, and do you think he will be reinstated prior to the end of this season?
Much like Ray Rice, I thought they both deserved a opportunity to play in the NFL. The truth of the matter is that there have been plenty of players who have not been model citizens, who've been convicted of crimes, who have resumed an NFL career. Michael Vick, Dante Stallworth, Josh Brent now with the Cowboys. So as much as anybody may disagree or be abhorred by some of the things that they've been accused of or in that matter have been proven to have done, I don't think that should necessarily cost them their opportunity, provided, of course, they still, much like any job, they're still able to contribute and produce. Now, there are reports that Adrian Peterson, or that the judge in that case has encouraged both the NFL and Adrian Peterson's advisors to come up with some kind of settlement. I just like with, I guess, well, not just like, I thought Ray Rice had a really good opportunity to win his appeal, because the only thing that changed for the commissioner was, and for that matter, the Ravens, was the presence of video. And much like was pointed out in the story that I did with Janae, is that they had no incentive to lie to the commissioner, because why would you do that knowing that there is a video that's out there? Well, Adrian Peterson is a little bit different. They seem to be hinging their case on the fact that Troy Vincent has told them that, or told Adrian Peterson at some point that he would be getting credit for time served, being that
good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly. Being that he had missed, 9 or 10 weeks. Right, yeah. And I'm sorry, I don't know if Troy Vincent meets the threshold of NFL brass that if he tells you that you automatically are to believe and extrapolate that means Roger Goodell, that's his intention as well. Okay, fine. So my expectation is that this will pretty much, as it has been so far, a lost year for Adrian Peterson. I think he actually will be back with the Vikings, because we got to remember through all of this, through as much as we want to talk about the social impact of domestic violence, about how you raise your children and how you discipline your children, the NFL is still a bottom line, talent-based, production-based business. And at the end of the day, that's what matters.
All right. Hey, Mike, I heard you guys probably about a week ago talking about this situation with Mike and Mike. Well, it was just one Mike, because I think Gola wasn't there that day. We get a lot of this. We get people basically telling us, well, you know, he served. I mean, well, he sat home for such amount of games, and he got paid at the same time. So a lot of people are trying to say, you know, you got a paid vacation, so you shouldn't be complaining about it. But something that you said that day, you know, that resonated with me. The fact that Adrian Peterson, you know, is trying really hard for, you know, Emmitt Smith's record, and I think that's really important to him, as you guys were talking about. Do you think in the bigger scheme of things, that's more important to him than the actual money? Because people want to keep harping on this paid vacation thing, but he just
Right.
lost a lot of time in trying to go after a very prestigious record. What's your thought on that?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go out on the limb because it's not my money. But because I don't, you know, he does have a lot of children. I'm sure he's got a lot of expenses. But so I don't want to make any assumptions. But along those lines, I would guess if you asked Adrian Peterson, would you rather pay the salary in a fine and play and have those 9 games or this season back, or would you rather get paid and miss the season the way he has? I'm pretty close to guaranteeing he'd take the games and give up the money. Because, I mean, if you look at the way this guy has worked over the course of his career, how important football has been to him, how rigorously he rehabbed from the ACL to come back and win MVP, I think playing football in general and playing it at a high level, an all-time level, was most important to him. So, yeah, I did think that the number of games that he missed initially was sufficient. I thought he should have gotten credit for it, and they should have just maybe took some money back and let him play. Because it just felt like this was more of a statement by the commissioner than a necessity, because eventually, to Jamel's point, he's going to be reinstated. They're not going to keep him out of the league forever. So once he's reinstated, he still will have committed the act that he did toward his 4-year-old son. People still will view him a certain way. I don't think anybody's mind is going to be changed about what he did, no more than people's minds are changed about what Michael Vick did or Dante Stallworth did. Now, if it's about rehabilitation and helping him be a better parent, you can do that without taking more games from him. You could have worked together to ensure that he, didn't go this far again with any of his children and learn from his mistake. Ironically, we're talking about a parent going too far and being too heavy-handed with a child, and now here's Roger Goodell, the commissioner, basically being too heavy-handed with the player. As somebody who has children, there comes a point of diminishing returns when it comes to punishment. Like, you can beat, you can punish, you could take away, you could do all sorts of things. At a certain point, if it's not getting through to them, then you're just punishing them just to punish them. They're not receiving the message. So it felt like he was simply adding on so that he would never be accused of being too soft again the way he was with Ray Rice. Let me pile on. Let me make a statement. This is not tolerated. I got a new domestic violence policy. There's a new sheriff in town. I'm be even tougher than I was before. But what are you really doing? You don't think he's learned his lesson? I mean, apparently, the legal system has prohibited him from spanking his children again. Like, so he has every incentive to walk the straight and narrow. You're not going to change his mind any further by taking away an additional 6-7 games.
Right.
I think that this particular case is very interesting because it deals with something that, as parents, I think as parents, just as human beings, I grew up in a household where ass whoopings occurred.
Wait, I thought you said you wanted to keep this within 2 hours, because if you start talking about corporal punishment, we're gonna be here for a minute. but go ahead. No. Go ahead.
And that's exactly where I was going, because Devin made one of the most profound points out of anybody that I've heard talk about this, where corporal punishment comes from. And so for me, even pointing the finger at Adrian, it's kind of like you have to be very careful with that, because I think more people from his generation and earlier than not got their butts whooped. So I didn't see any evidence of him really being abusive in any other fashion than taking it too far. So I kind of felt like there could be a little bit of hypocrisy in what Goodell was doing, because Goodell, we don't know your background, but you trying to tell me you didn't get spanked? Really? We all got spanked. That was kind of my take on
You
it.
got time?
I'm gonna lay out on that and be quiet because I could talk for the next 50 minutes about that, as Jamel knows. but well said. Let's just say that. Well said.
All right. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of things going on in sports that, you know, that just isn't happening within the games. And, you know, we talked about it earlier, you know, for everybody out there who's going to tell us after you listen to this to stick to sports, and sports is just a part of real life. And with Jimmy always says sports is a microcosm of real life. So, you know, things are going to, you know, seep its way into sports. And we just want to thank you guys again for having these conversations with us, you know, and taking the time out to do so. Let everybody know before we get you out of here, you know, how they can listen to the podcast, where they can watch the show again. Do your commercial.
Jay?
Well, yeah, it's pretty simple. We're on noon weekdays on ESPN2. Finally got the show changed, so now we're all sort of, or the name of the show changed, so now it's all one brand, so it's the His and Hers TV show and the His and Hers podcast, which I guess what's the disclaimer, Mike, when we do one, it's twice a week.
Yeah, right.
Most weeks we try to make sure it's twice a week, which you can download on ESPN.com backslash ESPN, what is it, ESPN.com?
ESPN.com/Pod Center.
That's Pod Center. That's what it is. All right. You would think I've said that 1,000 times. I would remember it. So, at any rate, so there's plenty of ways to find us. And obviously, Mike and I are both on Twitter under our real names. Yes, he is under Michael Smith. He owns the name on Twitter, despite the fact this world is populated with 7,000 or 7 million Michael Smith. There's only one that's verified. It's that one. And, of course, you can find us also on Instagram. Hey, Mike, look, he's a heavyweight around here. Y'all just don't know.
I was like, how did you find that? It's like
No, somebody was just squatting on it. Somebody was squatting on it. Like somebody was squatting on Michael Smith, and we just, you know, called Twitter and was like, hey, can we have it? And they were like, yeah, and that was it.
Mike is calling Twitter.
Well, I didn't call him. We got people here at ESPN that do that for us, thankfully. So, but I don't have that. I don't have that kind of pull on Instagram. I'm the Michael Smith on Instagram. But I'm boring on Instagram. The Thirst Trap Queen Jamel Hill is who you want to follow on Instagram. That's
Thirst Trap Queen.
Hey, but definitely congrats to you guys for getting the TV show changed over to one unified brand. Because, you know, I always, you know, when we talk to you guys, I always tell Mike anyway that numbers do lie. So, you know.
We knew that. But see, okay, now that it's been changed, we could come clean. We knew that. We just couldn't say it every day. You know.
All right. So, thank you guys again for coming on. And, of course, you know, we got to do this again sometime soon.
For sure.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, guys. Y'all take it easy.
All right, that's Michael Smith and Jamel Hill, everybody, from ESPN's His and Hers, the podcast and now the TV show, formerly known as Numbers Never Lie. But like we just told Mike, numbers lie all the time. So before we do that, before we move on, Jim, and give our NFL picks for the week and talk a little bit of basketball, if we can get to it in the time remaining. I think we might have some calls on the line still that want to.
We do. We got the homie Neef. Neef been holding for a minute. Let's see if Neef's still there.
Screen team.
Neef.
Yo.
What's good? What's good, homie?
What's up, brothers?
Yeah, thanks for waiting, good brother. We, had our guests on, but we appreciate it, though. What's going on?
Yeah, I wanted to talk college football.
Okay, what's up? What's
up?
What you think
about
on
your
college
mind,
football?
brother? Yeah, I don't watch a lot of college football, but I'm more of an NFL dude. But Florida State, I mean, I don't know, I could be wrong, but didn't Florida State beat the most top 25 teams in the nation?
I'm not sure of the exact stat, but I know they have beat several. I understand where you and a lot of people are saying, like, how did they fall? Like, how did TCU just leapfrog them? Because I'm thinking the same thing. We got some people in our chat room speculating that they hating against Jameis Winston for stealing crabs. Who knows?
You know what it is, Jim? You know what it is, Neef? A lot of the teams that they beat were better teams. They were ranked higher when they actually beat them. And I agree with you. They should be given credit for that. It's not their fault that they beat these teams and then these teams go on to be, worse than we thought they were and their rankings drop. Like when they beat Notre Dame was ranked high. So they're not giving them props for beating teams when they were ranked higher. They're ranked lower now that they've beat them. And it seems like they're holding that against them. But I don't know what it is, man. I mean, this is what you get when you get humans at work.
A friend of mine, I think he's a big Florida State fan. He said they beat the most top 25. And out of the other three teams, is any of them undefeated?
No, I think Florida State's the only undefeated team left.
So Florida State, they undefeated. Everybody, all the other three teams just got one loss. And they beat the most top 25 teams. How they not number one?
It's conspiracy.
I don't get college sports
They keep judging it off
Yeah.
strength of schedule. And they're saying they got, I think, the 43rd ranked strength of schedule in the nation. But TCU has the 46th ranked strength of schedule in the nation. So I don't really understand that. I think when you go TCU versus Florida State, they're trying to say, TCU's margin of victory, is so much higher. But, to me, a win is a win. But
I think it got a lot to do with Jameis Winston, though.
A lot of people are saying
you got a couple open cases and everything. It's crazy.
Possibly.
But they're the best team. They should be number one, clearly.
a lot of people are saying that, but at the end of the day, though, I don't even know if it really matters at this point. As long as you make the playoff or what have you, then you just do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it's all about at this point. The game has kind of changed. Like being number one kind of doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like as long as you make that or whatever. So we'll see what happens, man. But thanks for listening, man. Thanks for holding too, Neve. We appreciate the support, homie.
All right, brothers.
All right, we talk to you. Take it easy.
All right, thanks, Nick.
All right, we got Oh, go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we got a couple more calls. We got Jonathan calling in from Maryland. I know he don't want to talk no Redskins, man. Let's see what's up with Jonathan.
He can't possibly want to talk about the Washington professional football team and the turmoil that they're in.
What's up, Jonathan?
You guys, this is a tough crowd. How's everyone doing?
What's up,
Pretty
brother?
good,
Lord Jesus, in the name of, we doing great.
Well, I wanted to talk a few things. I'm gonna say I was hoping, I didn't know you guys would allow us to talk to Jamil Hill and Michael Smith, right? I wanted to ask them their thoughts about their company putting out their crazy story today. I was reading about 4 quarterbacks supposedly regressing. One of them I agree, RG3. The other one, Kaepernick, I don't agree with that so much. I think the other team members just don't want to perform for Harbaugh anymore. The third one I believe they had was Cam Newton, and that was unfair because Cam Newton, we all know, they took away his best receiver, and he was hurt, and his offensive line is just as horrible as the Redskins. And then the fourth one, surprisingly, was Russell Wilson. I didn't understand that at all. Russell Wilson, I thought was pretty decent.
I completely agree with the article and 3 of the 4. 3 of the 4
right.
I totally agree with.
But they didn't mention about Tannehill. I don't think Tannehill's doing all that great. They didn't mention about and of course he was supposedly, there was people last year saying, oh man, he's on his way to being the next Peyton. Yes, there were some fans who were crying that last year. Some of them he's gonna be on his way to the next Peyton or whatever.
Tannehill was never celebrated in the way that at least 3 of those 4 were celebrated. He's not even in the same league as them in terms of popularity or acclaim. But who's the other quarterback? Who's the other quarterback that you wanted to say is kind of sliding that they didn't mention? Who are the others?
Oh well, they're actually, in that aspect, that would probably more that would definitely be some guys who've been in the league for a few years that I don't understand how they got contract extensions like Cutler and I'm not sold on Stafford. I'm sorry. And I'm not sold on Alex Smith either. I don't think he's all that great.
Well,
but it is what it is.
The thing. I would agree with you. I do agree with you, but it's kind of like looking at comparing player salaries and player contracts to real estate and even a real estate boom. So contracts are given based on how the market is set. In a vacuum, is Cutler a $50 million contract or $70 million or $80 million contract guy? No, of course he's not. But what is the alternative? What's the alternative? So you have to look at the alternative.
But I think the market
was set. The market was set by Joe Flacco. So Flacco set the market, and unfortunately, he had a hot streak that got them to a Super Bowl win. Not
Ray Lewis and that defense.
All world or great. Well, no, Torrey Smith, a lot of deep balls,
Anquan Bolden,
a lot of passes to the Anquan Bolden. Yeah, absolutely. Flacco played very, very well during an 8 or 9 game stretch. He played very well, but that's not enough for him to be what that contract says he is, but that's the market. So once he gets that, then it's the job of these other guys' agents to go out and negotiate accordingly. And what is your alternative? Quarterback play in the NFL overall, one thing, John, and I'm going to let you, quarterback play overall and the talent pool has dropped. It's not, and it's funny because as the quarterback talent pool and how these guys are taught to play the position drops, passing the ball and the focus on the quarterback has increased. So now you have less talented guys throwing the ball more often and having more value than before. So a lot of these guys aren't that talented and shouldn't get paid that way, but that's the watering down of the league and the position.
I just find it ironic, and this is what I was trying to get to. The four guys that were in this article, 3 of the 4, we already know Bob's gone somewhere else, so that's done deal. But 3 of the other 4,
Bob is garbage, and it's not even his fault. Totally.
Right. Well, to some degree he is right now. He lost his edge.
I understand that, and I think I know where you were trying to go with it, and I understand B. Austin's point too, in terms of the market setting it. Jonathan, I don't know where you work at or whatever you do, but I'm pretty sure there's probably somebody at your job who works to the same position as you, gets paid the same salary, who doesn't work as hard as you.
But this is what I'm trying to get to. 3 of the 4 of those guys in this article, right? And it has the gentleman was just saying they were hot and they're popular and all that stuff. I find it kind of ironic that the market was set a year ago with Flacco and some of these other guys, right? Or a couple years ago, whatever the case may be. All of a sudden, these 3 of these 4 guys are in big contract negotiations now. Okay, Kaepernick, Kaepernick, besides him, as he took the deal that some people question, what was he thinking? Because basically, San Francisco will walk away.
Extra piece of that deal, the pay-as-you-go deal. But go ahead, though.
But 2 of the 4, with the exception of RG3, Cam Newton and Russell Wilson, they potentially, and I'm saying potentially, can ask for $55 to $60 million minimum guaranteed deal. And all of a sudden, now we're back to Cam can't read defenses again. He can't do this. He can't do that. And then they're questioning Wilson.
John, can I bring the fact of the matter is, and the point that you're really making without making it, I'll go ahead and say it for you. Those are 4 black guys, and they're the 4 most well-known and acclaimed black quarterbacks in the NFL right now. The fact of the matter is, and the sad part of this, is that the quarterback position isn't taught properly at the high school and the college level. So some of these guys have amazing physical attributes and athletic talent, and they're put in a position where they play at a level where they can be in the NFL, but to be successful, being a successful NFL quarterback is more akin to being a grand chess master than it is to being a tremendous athlete. I'm not questioning any of these guys' mental capacity, but I do question the way they were taught the game and the way they were taught the position.
I mean, even outside all that,
the way they were taught the position.
Jonathan, all I want to say about that is, I do question those things because have you watched Cam Newton play? And I understand he lost his receiver. But hold on. I understand he lost his best receiver. But if just strictly off football, forget everything else, forget the connotations of race and all that, just watching him play, to me, as someone, just the eye test, he looks like he has regressed, even from a leadership standpoint. Cam Newton reminds me of LeBron James in his early career, where when they're winning, he's smiling and everything's going, and he plays a lot better. But when they get behind and there's some adversity, he's ducking his head, he's walking around. He looks like he's half-assed in the game. This is just for me watching the game. He does look like he regressed. Meanwhile,
they took the tools away from him.
Excuse me?
No,
They took the tools.
That's an excuse. That's an excuse.
No, I'm not
that we
using
as
excuse.
fans
Whenever you have a young quarterback in the NFL,
listen to me.
Okay.
Listen to me. When you go back and you look at the last 20 years winning Super Bowl teams, there are some exceptions in that 20-year span, but give me the names of the greats or even the goods that had these all-world wide receiving cores. There are none. If you're a great quarterback, if you're a good quarterback, and you're paired with an NFL caliber receiver and athlete, you make plays. Cam Newton has a terrible accuracy problem, and he has a terrible understanding of reading defenses at this point in his career. When he had a Steve Smith and some other weapons, sure, they could alleviate some of the pressure of Cam's weaknesses and deficiencies, but that's kind of like a crutch. And it's even more glaring in San Francisco. It's a crutch. So when you have great players around you that can make exceptional plays, you're lazy in your development. Now, some of those throws that he has to make that receivers were coming open, they have to be in tighter spaces, in tighter windows, and that accuracy does show up. Now his confidence is in question. His wheels are a little broke because he's not fully healthy. So he can't get outside of that pocket and take that beating or run. When he used to be able to beat people to the edge, now he's taking that beating. So now he's forced to stand back there and make reads and make throws. He's regressed. Jimmy is actually a Cam supporter. So he's watched Cam. He's far more than I. And he said, yo, this dude is going backwards.
Oh, I am a Cam supporter. I wanted him to do well. I still want him to do well. But just watching him play, I can see what they're talking about. Part of it is the running game. I mean, they're like on their eighth-string running back. I know I'm exaggerating, but they lost a lot of their players at the running back position. So now, like B. Austin said, he's forced to make plays, and it just doesn't look like he can make them. And a lot of it is his footwork, his accuracy. He throws the ball 100 miles an hour, even if you're standing directly in front of him. My man throws screen passes at 100 miles an hour. So there's a lot of things.
No touch.
There's a lot of things wrong there. But I do get where you're coming from. But think about this. The last Super Bowl champion was the Seahawks, and they didn't have any great receivers. So the whole thing of he needs great receivers, I don't like when people say that because most championship teams don't have great receivers.
Well, no. I'm not saying so much of receivers. That's why I was trying to finish my statement. I'm saying, of course, Steve Smith is exception to the rule, but I'm saying he lost his left tackle, which was one of the better left tackles in the league, Jordan Gross. He also, and the biggest thing I think that's killing him, and any young quarterback needs this, is his special team sucks, so they're not getting him in proper field position, and more importantly, the defense is horrendous. What happened to that defense?
Well, here's why. When you watch the game and you look at the
entire game. Greg Hardy happened.
Hold on, from a macro standpoint, when you look at the game, the defense sucks because they're on the field all game because the offense is going 3 and out. And I understand you lose your left tackle, but that has nothing to do with bad footwork, throwing across your body, throwing inaccurate passes. A lot of those things have nothing to do. Now, you can say, well, maybe he's rushing it because he doesn't have enough time. And at times that is that. I'm not saying everything is his fault. The team is a mess. But
us fans, are we putting these young quarterbacks in? And this is something I've been talking about for a long time. Are we putting these young quarterbacks in too early?
I
agree with that. Yes.
Listen,
that's society. That's the culture.
Think about the last two quarterbacks in the league that spent some time before they got, a year or two before they got into the field and became a starter was Aaron Rodgers, who's one of the best in the game, and Philip Rivers, which is a good quarterback.
Well, listen, that's a whole other debate because we can name names on both sides of that equation. We got to go though because we got a couple more things to talk about.
Yeah. I got you.
We'll talk about that, John. We'll definitely bring that up though. Thanks for the call, homie.
No problem. Y'all take care now.
Yes, sir.
All right. Real quick, you got to be fast, good brother. We got Rob calling in. MET, Rob, what's good? Michael Eric Type, what's good, Rob?
What's good, man? What's good, man? That's what's up. That's what's up. And by the way, Alex Smith is overrated. Have fun with that, Andy Reid, with your fat behind. Yo, real
Where that
quick.
come
Yo, real quick. Yeah, because everybody likes to. I don't like Andy Reid. He's the reason. But anyway, yo, Angry Birds on Sunday, man. I can't wait. I love Pete Carroll, but he's the enemy now. You know what I'm saying? That's what's up. So, Eagles fans. Eagles fans. Huh?
I was going to say, before we get you out, because we got to go. We don't have that much time. I ask you a question. What's your prediction for the Eagles game? Now that you said that, who you got winning the game?
My prediction. Here's the thing. We have to do what we have just now started doing the second half of the season. Run the ball, pound the rock. You have to pound these dudes. It's gonna be a dog fight, man. It's gonna. I was looking for a theme song, man. I have to pick a rock song because it's gonna be that type of game, man. You gotta come here. You can't just come here any type of way. You gotta come with some Cali swag, dog. You gotta come just knocking heads off.
Yeah, no doubt. I see you hyped for the game, man. It's only Thursday. Calm down, Rob. You got a couple days left, good brother.
All right, and the Cowboys are gonna blow the Chicago Bears out. DeMarco Murray's probably gonna break a rushing record. That's all I'm gonna say.
What you talking about? Yeah, so with that being said, man, Rob, listen, man, thanks for your call. We saw that status you put up about Kobe, man. You know, I don't know about that, man, but thanks for the support anyway, good brother.
Yo, Bill Walton's overrated. Kobe's the MVP.
What did Bill Walton got to do with anything?
Yo, Bill Walton had an MVP for a six-man. Are you kidding me?
Yo, he didn't win the MVP as six-man,
Yeah,
though.
he didn't win it when he was a six-man, though.
But come on, he put it so biased. Love y'all, peace, man.
All right, peace, homie.
Yeah, did he just say we were biased for Bill Walton? Why the hell would we be biased for Bill Walton?
Rob's crazy. So we got a little bit of time left, good brother. I don't even know where to jump into it, man.
Man, what's happening?
I know one thing I want to ask you guys real quick. Let's get back to work though, real quick. So I got to say something to you guys, man. One thing I got to bring up before we go. Russell Westbrook, man, 32 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds in 23 minutes. What did you guys think
Underrated.
about that?
And his comeback.
Underrated.
But in the larger scheme of things, by fans, because fans don't want. I don't know. They just don't want anybody on their team as good as KD, because KD's the good guy. But Russell Westbrook put on a show that night in his comeback game, and it was beautiful to watch, man.
Yeah, it definitely was. It's funny, Dad, that happened. Me and you were talking that day about him and how the boy Bomani called him the third best player in the NBA. And we was debating that, like whether that was the case or not. As soon as he gets in, he went right to work. And dude is a tremendous talent, man. So, shout out to Derrick Rose, because that's always a comparison, man. And people always say, how can you compare him to Derrick Rose? Well, you can.
Yo, he's better. He's better than Derrick Rose by far right now.
Shout out to Bill Walton, though.
Yeah, but Bill Walton was overrated.
How about that? Yo,
I'm just going to bring it up in random conversations. We're going to be talking football. I'm like, the Bill Walton is overrated. Anyway, with that being said, man, let's talk a little bit of NFL real quick. NFL is brought to you by Stitcher Smart Radio. You can now hear our show, The War Room, on Stitcher Smart Radio. Stitcher allows you to listen to your favorite shows from your iPhone, your Android phone, and if you happen to have a BlackBerry or Palm phone, it's time for an upgrade. If you don't want to upgrade, kill yourself. But while you're killing yourself, you can still listen to The War Room. The latest episode is always available for you. No syncing needed, no memory or storage wasted. Go to warroomsports.com, click that Stitcher logo, or stitcher.com/The War Room. Make sure you enter that coupon code, The War Room. That's one word, by the way. Gets you a chance to win some money. Now, NFL Week 13, gentlemen.
Week 14.
Yeah, Week 14 is coming up, but, Anyway.
Oh, you're talking about stuff. Okay. I get you.
Yeah, the Week 13 that just passed. Because one thing that happened in Week 13 I just got to ask you about, J.J. Watt, left planet Earth for a good 10 minutes because he made, 18 plays on defense and offense. I'm ready to pick J.J. Watt up as a tight end in my fantasy league.
MVP.
We talked about this a couple shows ago, Is he the best player in the league?
He might be the best football player in the league, man. I'm still not flying the MVP flag, and I know some people out there probably can't distinguish the difference from what I'm saying, but there's a difference. He's possibly just the best pure football player out there. I mean, this dude, it's like we keep saying, you know, he plays a position where his statistics are not going to be able to put him in the MVP race, but you know, he's racking up statistics in all areas now. I mean, he got about 10.5 sacks. You know, last week there was a series where he forced the fumble, recovered the fumble, and then on the ensuing drive, he caught the touchdown pass. Like, come on, JJ.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, he left Earth for a couple minutes. I'm like, yo, how you do that? That's something people tell you about. That's like high school stuff. That's stuff you do at a high school level.
Yeah, when you're the best player on the high school team.
I was just about to say the same thing, Jimmy. When you're the best player on the high school team, your coach just puts you in whatever position. Yo, go play some running back. Yo, go play some receiver. Go play some D-line. We need to get some pressure on the quarterback. All right, stand up, play some linebacker. Yo, go ahead, sit back there and play some safety. We need to get a pick. Yo, he does everything better than everyone. Yo, MVP, man.
Man. I mean, I don't know what else to say, man. Like, yo, he definitely is amazing, man. We got a game tonight.
Yo, did you see the catch? Did you see the catch? The catch he made was not a typical open lineman, defensive lineman catches the ball. He was falling down, leaning out left hand to make the catch. Yo, never mind, man. I'm done.
Yeah, yo. I was going to talk about the game tonight. I want you guys' predictions for the Cowboys at the Bears. You know, we don't know who DeMarco Murray is with right now, whose wife he's with, but it's a big game for the Cowboys. What do you guys think about this game? Who you got winning, Dev?
I got the Cowboys winning, man. I kind of went back and forth, but I just don't trust the Chicago Bears, even at home. And the Cowboys are actually playing better on the road than they're playing at home, so I got the Cowboys.
Okay. What about you, B. Austin?
It pains me to say this. I need Jay Cutler to have that one great game that keeps him in the league and gets him $50 million.
Hey, B. Austin, yeah, me too, because my fantasy playoffs start tonight. But go ahead. Different reason.
I can't, in good conscience, pick the Bears, so I gotta say the Cowboys will win this game, but I don't want them to.
Okay, all right, no doubt. Yo, I'm picking the Cowboys just because, yo, when you got a quarterback like Jay Cutler, never mind. Listen though, a big game in the AFC North. We have the Steelers at the Bengals. Some predictions for this game, gentlemen.
I actually think the Steelers are going to go on the road and win this one. They blew one at home last week against the Saints. I got the Steelers going in and taking this. The Bengals are very inconsistent with how good they're supposed to be.
Okay, what about you, B. Austin?
Let me just this is my I don't give a what game, so I'm just go ahead and pick the Bengals. I don't even know if I believe that. But I'm gonna pick the Bengals.
Okay. All right, you got the Bengals. Yo, I don't know who to pick in this game. I think both teams at times have looked good and didn't look bad, but yo, I'm going to take the Bengals. I'm taking the home team just because I don't know who else to pick. The Steelers one week look like they can win the division, then the Bengals, you know what it is. So I'm taking the home team. I'm taking the Bengals. Ravens at Dolphins. Yo, I'm taking the Dolphins to win this game. B. Austin, who you got? Ravens or Dolphins?
Ravens.
Okay. Dev, who you got?
This is my week for road teams. I got the Ravens as well. I faltered a little bit. I wavered when Haloti Ngata got suspended, but you know, Lamar Miller isn't that great of a threat where I think Haloti Ngata's presence will change this game. So I got the Ravens.
Yeah, no doubt. And I want to because I actually had them winning the division in the preseason picks, but I picked the Dolphins nonetheless. Chiefs at Cardinals. This turned out to be a big game. I mean, will the Cardinals win another game? Dev, who you got in this game?
Not this week. I got the Chiefs winning this one. I just don't. You know me. I thought the Cardinals were going to falter anyway, but now with Drew Stanton in there, you know, he's not good. I got the Chiefs.
No doubt. All right, cool. So I'm going to take the I'm going to take the Cardinals, yo.
You gonna take the Cardinals? Yes, you gonna take it. You gonna take the Cardinals?
That means I'm not that confident. But
Yo, that's what I'm thinking about. Yeah, I'm going to take the Cardinals, man. What'd you say, Austin? Who you got?
I mean, I'm gonna stop disrespecting Alex Smith. He is a starting quarterback with a high winning percentage in the league. So Chiefs.
Okay, no doubt. All right, so we have the Bills at my beloved Denver Broncos. I'm taking the Broncos. Kyle Orton will not come into my eye and get a win. Yo, he can't. He just can't. So I'm taking the Broncos. B. Austin.
I got Peyton Manning and C.J. Anderson.
All right, no doubt. Dev.
Broncos.
Right now, here you go. Let's say that one for last. We got Patriots at Chargers. This is another big game. What do you guys have in this, Dev? Patriots at Chargers.
I told you my week of the road teams. I got the Patriots going in there and beating the Chargers.
Okay. All right, no doubt. B. Austin.
Yo, Phillip Rivers is a hell of a quarterback. Tom Brady is just better, and he gets the best out of his squad. And I like what Darrelle Revis and Brandon Browner are doing in that secondary. So I'm gonna go with the Pats.
You're right, B. Austin. Because besides that one play where Jordy Nelson got loose, Jordy was chilling on Revis Island talking to a volleyball named Wilson.
Yo, quietly, Revis is back.
Revis quietly. He's still the best corner in the league.
He said quietly. Yo, he was killing Jordy, and Jordy got loose. My Puerto Rican homie, Jordy Nelson. But I'm on this game right here, yo. I'm taking the Chargers. I'm saving this one for last, so let's just jump right into it. These are your beloved Philadelphia Eagles, gentlemen, and this is a big, big game this upcoming week against the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. So we got about a good 2 minutes. So each of you gentlemen got a minute apiece to break the game. I'm actually going to take the Eagles at home. But Dev.
I'm going to surprise you, Jimmy. I'm going to take the Eagles at home too. And people who probably have never listened before, like, well, if you're an Eagles fan, why is that surprising? Surprising because I haven't picked the Eagles to beat any good teams all season long. This is probably when they lose because I'm actually going to pick them to beat the Seahawks. I just look at the Seahawks and what I perceive as offensive struggles. The Eagles defense isn't a juggernaut by any stretch, but I think, with turnovers, sacks, pressuring the quarterback, I think they can keep you in a game. And if the offense plays as well as it's been playing in the past few weeks, well, the tempo has been going fast. They still stall in the red zone a lot. But I think if they put up a lot of points, 30 plus against the Seahawks, I don't really see the Seahawks being able to score 30 points. But that's still a tall order against a defense as good as Seattle. But I think it could be done. So I'm going to pick the Eagles on this one.
Okay. B. Austin, real quick because we got to go.
Oh, man. I had to sign before this one. I had to. I'm picking the Seahawks. If we can beat the Seahawks, then maybe I'll be a true believer. But I'm going to Seahawks. Couldn't beat the Niners. Can't beat the Niners. Can't.
He's trying to play reverse like I pick them, then you know what I'm saying. But anyway, thanks for
I've been doing that all season. But
we got to get out of here, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us in the war room, everybody. Shout out to everybody in the chat room, those on Facebook and Twitter, all the calls who chimed in and hollered at us. We appreciate it. Those we didn't get to, we apologize. Special thanks to ESPN's Jamel Hill and Michael Smith, and also Fred Perdue of collegefootballextra.com. They kicked it with us this show. Tune in next week, same time, same place, live right here or on demand. WRS Podcast Network. We have a lot of great sports talk over there. We'll recap NFL Week 14, preview Week 15, and touch on an array of other sports topics. So until then, enjoy your week. We'll see you right back here next time. Be sure to catch our conversations. Facebook and Twitter is at War Room Sports. Our webcasts are on warroomsportstv.com. All of our network shows, WRSPN.com. Also, look for us on iTunes, War Room Sports Podcast Network. Until next time, everybody, don't accept mediocrity and be steadfast in the war against ignorance. We'll see you chumps on top.
War Room Sports. Y'all ready? Let's go. Stay in tune to Jimmy. Know the blueprint. Yo, every Thursday, 6 to 8, they do this. Shout out to Dev, PJ, B. Austin, Doc Bay on replay. WarRoomSports.com. Get that mobile app. If not, dial 323-140012. They be going and you sensitive, then oh well. Yeah. Physical podcast, let's talk sports. Showtime like Magic and the box course. Listen live, push one to join in. Rip your team or listen for your enjoyment. Hip hop scholars, tip stop and knowledge. Should be in sports credits, I ain't talking college. 5 guys, no beef though. Corporate secret, but the streets know. Belafonte, I got a G flow. KC royalty, I'm in beast mode. 2 hours, get your game up. Who's the best in sportscast? You better name us. War Room Sports. Yeah, you know, Jimmy, Dad, DJ, Shot Back, B. Austin. I'm Chop. Up and coming on the beat.
War Room Sports, www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.